Like, do you feel like since you own what you own, and no, they don't bother you?
No, because I haven't done something out of patriot myth or that is adverse to the actual statutes and rules of the system. I am in the world, so I've got to figure out. I have to love my neighbor as myself.
Sure.
I've got to, as much as it is possible for me to live at peace with all men, and I'll do that up to the point. Just like those who came before me said, we must obey God rather than men. When they were brought before the courts, the disciples said, no, we're not going to stop that because we must obey God rather than men. It's not that they were lawbreakers or criminals, although all of them were political prisoners. All of them died martyrs. Jesus was a political prisoner. Had any of them said, okay, I have to do this because the government said I have to do this, none of them would have died. There is a
Right.
point. What is your line in the sand? My line in the sand is not worrying about having private plates or state plates on my vehicle. That's not a line in the sand for me. It's not something I'm willing to put my family at risk for. But there are other things. I mean, when you get back to where we were in 1933, the New Deal, the property, your property, and that's what you're talking about, and your labor belong to the public trust. And you are the property that belongs to the public trust, and your children are the public property that belongs to the public trust. And the public trust is controlled through taxation and licensing. That's how they control the public trust. So licensing, there are things that I will not do. Real ID that demands of me under an adhesion contract that cannot be negotiated, I either take it or leave it, says that at least what I've read on it, that the state can demand my bodily fluids anytime they want to demand them. Well, that's a line in the sand for me. No, that's not going to happen.
That's really one of the stipulations for the
What
real
I've read,
ID.
yeah.
Ain't getting one then. I ain't getting one.
But you can still manage if you have a passport. Now,
I
this
do.
holy nation I keep talking about, we have issued traveling cards. We will be issuing domestic passports. They won't take the place of the U.S. passport at all. We have issued license plates. We've taught registration. We have a database of all the people that are part of this. God has provided us with servers that we own all of our own servers. So all of the membership data, and it's not data that is private. It's data that Babylon already has. But we have a closed email system, so if you were part of that, we could email back and forth on our own service, a closed system. You can't mail into the Ecclesia email system from Yahoo or Gmail or Hotmail, and so you can't mail out of that. But between you and I on that closed system, I could teach you and I could share with you processes and documents. That's why I say some things I won't answer in a public fashion, but
Right.
God has provided us with a private system to communicate and to help each other.
And no one can access that server except for whoever's invited.
I guess anything is hackable, but
Right. Right.
the gentleman who wrote this program is 30 years in computer software, writing computer programming and computer security, and he wrote it all. And we own all the servers, so it's very, very secure. But everything comes down to title, use, and interest when you get to talking about this. I don't want anybody having title to me because I have submitted that to Jesus Christ. I am a bondservant of Yeshua, and
Right.
and for anyone to take that, no. So title is no longer theirs. Use and interest, no, they can't use me in any way or form or fashion that they want, because everything you get from the corporation, if I got a letter from the corporation today and I open it up and I look at it, it's a solicitation, it's an offer to contract. I have to, as the overseer of my house, I have to determine, is this good for my house or is this bad for my house?
Right.
Is this crossing that line? Is this in opposition to what the Torah has taught me? And can I do this and still abide by the Torah? I have to ask myself those questions. If I
Do you think
cannot
this is
abide,
a salvation issue? Do you
pardon?
think that this is a salvation issue? If someone does not remove themselves from the system, that because at the end of the day, it's a heart matter, right? It's a matter of faith,
Right?
right? So
I don't know that it's a salvation issue, but it's you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know.
right.
Uh, and we didn't know what happened in 1910 and 1913 and 1933. We didn't know what happened under the Trading with the Enemies Act. We didn't know that we were exchanging, our liberty and our rights for benefits.
Right.
And we didn't know that. So I can't see it as a salvation issue. But once I know, now I have to make a choice. How long will I stand between two opinions? The prophet says. How long will you hover between two opinions? I set before you today life and death. Choose life.
Right.
So for me, it comes down to that, not to a salvation issue. It comes down to free will means I have the power of choice. I have, what is it? Luke 10 says that he's given us the ability to tread on scorpions and the power over all the wiles of the enemy.
Right.
If I have that power, what am I going to do with it? If I can remove title, use, and interest of my children from the state, why wouldn't I do that? If I can remove title, use, and interest of my marriage from the state, why wouldn't I do that? Because God is my Father, Christ is my King. I am under His governance, which was placed on His shoulders. And Isaiah said, the government is on His shoulders. Why do I need another government? In fact, I hope we can get to it. I can get down to, there's a little something I need to share with you. I can get down to the maxims of law, the precepts of law, the actual statutes, ordinance, and laws of our King. We have everything we need from Him. We don't need what we've replaced it with.
Right.
Now, I will tell you this, and this just popped in my mind, so I'm going to bring this up. There is something called the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut back in the 1600s. And the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut are referred to as the very first Constitution of the United States. They literally, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it memorized exactly verbatim, but this is very, very close to verbatim. They said, we are organizing this body politic for the preservation of the gospel of the kingdom and for Jesus the Christ, whom we presently serve. That's why they even put together this Constitution. And I mean, if you wanted, I could look it up and even read it for you, but you can look it up online. The Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, a amazing document that literally says Christ is King. We're doing everything we're doing so that the gospel of the kingdom is secured and protected, and we're under His law. And I know we can get into a lot of argument what that means. I think that means all of His law, because the Torah literally is the loving instruction of a father so that we might hit the mark. And I can find nowhere in history where a loving father that we have quit giving loving instruction so that we might hit the mark. So the totality of the word for me is Torah. The totality of the commentary of the New Testament on the Torah of the Old Testament becomes one piece, because it is the loving instruction of a father, and He still loves me and still gives me instruction and everything I need for self-governance, for establishing my house. The law form is written within that word. Now, jump over to Babylon system. We've got U.S. Code 50 in the U.S. Code, and it says that the things that happened in our past, like the Tuskegee syphilis experiments and the 1940s, there was the Walter E. Fernald School for the Mentally Retarded Children, with funding from Quaker Oats and the National Institute for Health and the Atomic Energy Commission, fed radiation poisoned oatmeal to mentally impaired children just to see what would happen to them.
That's awful.
That's awful. MK Ultra, all the things we could list. We can make a big long list. That's not what this show's about. But we know that's enough to say we know that there are killing, stealing, and destroying elements of this system. Title 50 U.S. Code is restrictions on use of human subjects for testing of chemical or biological agents. And it says the Secretary of Defense may not conduct directly or by contract, again, contract, everything is by contract, any test or experiment involving the use of a chemical agent or biological agent on a civilian population. Or, of course, St. Louis was sprayed in project, I forgot the name of the project, but they were sprayed with poison. In fact, I just saw a newsreel on that. They're still talking about that. And also that the Secretary of Defense may not conduct any direct or by contract other testing of a chemical agent or biological agent on human subjects. Well, that sounds great, right? We're all protected because this is a wonderful system. But if you dig deep enough into a code, you've got to look at definitions, because they will always define the terms. And what the acts and the legislation, because I became a legislator in my house, I get to define the terms. They cannot be defined by the system. The system defines its terms. And I get into the definitions, and I find that there are exceptions. Are carried, subject to subsection C, D, and E. The prohibition in subsection A does not apply to a test or experiment carried out for any of the following purposes. So here's the exceptions. Any peaceful purpose that is related to a medical, therapeutic, pharmaceutical, agricultural, industrial, or research activity. And it literally starts out any peaceful purpose. We saw that in 2020, right? Exception number 2, any purpose that is directly related to protection against toxic chemicals or biological weapons and agents. So they can use it for any purpose if they need to test against, any biological weapon. We'll go do it on our people first to see if it's really exception number 3, any law enforcement purpose, including any purpose related to riot control. So literally, We've got these exceptions that say any purpose, any purpose, any purpose. Not quite what you thought it was. My God does not play tricks. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is truth. There is no undisclosed truth. He doesn't play with undisclosed contracts. He disclosed from the very beginning, and he still discloses today. It is men who cause truth to stumble in the streets. It is men who have caused justice to be far from us. There is no justice in the justice system. It is an injustice system. And I could go a long, long time on the justice system and the court system. And righteousness is far from us. The only reason truth has stumbled in our streets and there is no justice is because we are not righteous. And why are we not righteous? Because we have not separated ourselves, which is a command in the Torah to be separate, to be a holy nation. And I want to go down in my notes here.
I have another question real quick.
Go ahead.
Does that still apply since, like we are of the diaspora right now and we're not like a nation and like in the camp anymore, outside the camp?
Yes, it still applies because God provided through Yeshua a means that we could be grafted in. And a nation is not a landmass. A nation is not something confined by borders. A nation, if you look it up in the dictionary, literally is a body of people. And we are his people. He is our God. We are his people. We are the nation, regardless of the landmass or borders. We remain his people. We're grafted in. I'm adopted, a joint heir with the king. So my answer is a very much an affirmative. Yes, it still applies because we are his, because he's called us out to be his nation. Absolutely. So go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say congratulations, Randy, that you have successfully shut me up for about an hour and a half here, because this has been truly a meat shake. And I'm impressed, Jenna. You've been able to keep